Luffy activates Gear 4th versus Doflamingo final fight final battle. Do you think this will happen? What are your thoughts? What will Gear 4 look like? I'm pretty positive that Luffy will show us a pretty badass technique during the fight against Doflamingo. I would love to see Gear 4. Gear 2, based on blood. Gear 3, based on bones. Gear 4, based on muscles. So there is a certain pattern recognizable. So what could this be? Luffy is pretty slim comparing to others, and all his gear techniques is obviously only possible with his DF ability. I was imagining how would it look like when Luffy could control his muscles in that way of increasing the volume. Just like a advanced Ichi Gorilla, Knee Gorilla version, but all body muscles included. I'm sure Oda would draw it awesome. Not really huge muscles but defined and slightly bigger, so Luffy's appearance and character would not be destroyed. So with the increased blood pressure and the bigger volume of the muscles, this would be definitely an advantage. Another thing is Oda is highly inspired by Akira Toriyama and his Dragon Ball manga. Everybody knows the Ultra Super Saiyan 3rd grade, and Super Saiyan 2nd grade. In this grades the muscle mass heavily increases. So maybe this is the inspiration for Gear 4? Of course Oda will change it just like he wants, since it's just an inspiration and not a copy. For me it could happen like that, since Gear 2 is obviously based on Kaioken and Toriyama as inspiration is a very good choice. Maybe someone would say it's not a big development, but we should not forget that the gears combined is the real deal. Imagine Gear 2 plus 4 plus Ko Haki combined with Red Hawk or Gatling. Luffy power up and hidden power. That way we could see in his coming powers. What do you think they could be? How strong is Luffy? Do you think Luffy should train more? So I had some ideas on what they could be, because as he is now, he cannot fight against top-tier opponents. Development of Dan Shinjiao's Hath Shouken, which uses vibrations to harm enemies and destroy armor/weapons. Luffy is essentially an elastic band. My idea is that he could flex all the elastic in one arm and release it at the same time. If he could fashion this into a punch or strike, he could achieve something close to Whitebeard's Gurigura punches. Improvement of 3 forms of Haki. Buso Shoku Haki to the point where he can withstand the effect of harmful DF substances such as Magellan's poison or Akainu magma and piercing strikes, his weakness. How Shoku Haki is supposed to dominate the wills of others. I am still waiting for How Shoku Haki to be used to control those with weak minds, instead of just knocking them out. Kanban Shoku Haki. I want to see Luffy have almost perfect awareness of his opponent's actions, as well as using it to block out opponents using their own Kanban Shoku Haki to predict Luffy's movements. Gear 4th. Rubber grinding against rubber generates a lot of friction and heat. If he could protect himself with Haki and reach high enough temperatures, he could achieve a semi-liquid state. His punches would be red hot, etc. I see this as a possible way to match Akainu's magma. He could also go all the way into a liquid state, but again I dislike this because he would essentially become Loja, which is not what Luffy is about. Luffy's single quote Gear 4th ability will be the ability to melt. For starters, I believe this to be his next ability because all of his gear techs involve taking control of his heart and circulating his blood according to his will, be it speeding it up to advance his techs, or pumping all of it into one part of his body to produce a giant body type. Why? Because rubber melts, but for some reason he has shown high tolerance to heat, as we have seen from him standing in Asus Flames from 572, and Enel's golden ball that he stuck to Luffy when he still didn't melt, though he did scream that it was hot. The same way he can tighten his cells and pump up his heart, so hard that his skin can't punch through a sieve as shown in the crocodile fight, an ability that was shown even prior to his gear techs. For him to heat up and loosen his cells and calm his heart rate should produce the opposite effect, melting himself. The biggest benefit and primary use of this would effectively make him a pseudo-Loja, giving him Loja-like characteristics shown by Caribou. He is the best example of what Gear 4th would look like. Luffy will show the ability to heat up his body through pumping blood, similar to how he uses Red Hawk to produce fire to rise his body temperature. Then he will control the composure of his body and loosen himself, so that he no longer holds himself together and melts, resulting in a pseudo-Loja body.